its abusive owner that has nowhere else to go.
Yeah, well, it's not like I have much of a choice, do I?
No, you don't. Fate has flowed in the river of time, after all. Is that it?
Yeah, right here.
Go on, then. Review it.
Right. Hey, Dan Blonde here. If you recall from the Project Number 03 review that there was a mention of Killer 7 among the Capcom 5, and we're here to review it. Like it or not. Released in North America on the 7th day of the 7th month in 2005, which was intentional, Killer 7 is the last of the alleged Capcom 5 to be released after several development delays. It was originally going to be a GameCube exclusive like the other Capcom 5 games, but was released for both the GameCube and PlayStation 2 on the same day without even being a time exclusive for the GameCube like Beautiful Joe or Resident Evil 4. The GameCube version, however, is the better version since the game was originally designed for the system's hardware in mind, while the PlayStation 2 port suffers with worse load times and performance, though it's still a playable version if you only have a PS2. The game was developed by Grasshopper Manufacturer and was written and directed by their CEO, Goichi Suda, who is better known as Suda51. Suda is known for his distinct, surreal, and bizarre games that are often very unconventional and at times even parodies itself and other things, making him a very distinct creative mind in the video game industry. And trust me, after playing Killer 7, this man makes Hideo Kojima look sane in comparison. Though ironically both Suda and Kojima actually did do a radio drama together, I guess great and possibly insane minds think alike. Killer 7 was actually the first game North American gamers were introduced to Suda51's particular games, though this game wasn't exactly much of a commercial or critical success. But it did gather a cult following among gamers throughout the years since it was released, which helped to contribute towards the success of Suda51's No More Heroes later on. But just because this is a cult favorite among some gamers doesn't exactly make it the holy grail of gaming. Because of its surreal and unconventional nature, it's clearly not for everyone. But nevertheless, I'll give some thoughts on this unique game, and you can see for yourself if it's something you want to experience. So, what's it all about? Well, the game takes place in an alternate timeline where the world is at peace, and in order to prevent terrorism, highways are built over the oceans, making airports obsolete. Because commercial airlines were the only thing terrorists used in this game's world, apparently. The internet is also blocked off from the public to stop terrorism. This would also be known as the Great Porn Depression. And finally, missiles from all nations are fired at each other in order to eliminate them. Good thing they all have the same amount of missiles, and didn't miss. So everything is now fine and dandy with world peace, and the UN is about to sign a treaty when all hell breaks loose. Turns out an organization called the Heavenly Smile is doing some terrorist activities, and the only people that are able to stop them are the Killer 7, a group of 7 assassins for hire, all with the last name of Smith, and all with unique and unusual abilities. The group is led by Harvin Smith, a wheelchair-bound old man with the need of an aide named Samantha Smith. He may seem harmless, but he's actually the most powerful with a large armor-piercing rifle. But he's more of a story character, as you don't really play as him very often. The more active leader among the Killer 7 is Garcia Smith, who is the only one to be able to talk with Harmon and accept missions on behalf of the Killer 7, which their informant, Christopher Mills, provides for them. You don't play as him that often either unless someone else dies. Then you have to go to where they died to retrieve their head in a paper bag, and then mash the A button to revive them on the TV character select screen. Keep in mind that Garcian doesn't have any other abilities and actually isn't in the main roster of characters you usually play as, and if he dies, it's game over. He's usually just used as a plot character and to revive anyone that dies, so he's not really suitable for combat. Dan Smith is the well-rounded member of the group with a revolver and can even shoot giant collateral shots when needed. Kaede Smith is the only female of the group, and she uses a scope pistol and can use her slit wrist to destroy blood barriers and reveal things hidden in blood. Kevin Smith is a mute albino with knives and can even turn invisible to sneak past security and enemies. Coyote Smith is a thief that uses a modified revolver and can pick padlocks and jump to high places. Con Smith is the young blind member of the Killer 7 who uses dual pistols, can run at super speed, and because he is blind, can see certain things more noticeably than others. And finally there's Master Smith, a lucha libre wrestler who's the strongest and can take the most damage and wields dual grenade launchers. The overall team is pretty balanced and they all get their moments when needed, which makes figuring out how each killer play fairly easily. The first mission, or level, has Garcia go into a building and assassinate Kun Lan, the creator of the Heaven Smiles. Now you may be wondering where the rest of the Killer 7 are. Well, it's not as simple as you might think.
A surveillance camera?
Yeah, that's right, GCN just changed into Dan. You see, the Killer 7 are actually multiple personas that Harmon absorbed with his unique ability, and can change between them all on the fly, either at the start menu, or with the TV when in designated Harmon rooms that are throughout the levels.
You're going to have to frequently change between all the Killer 7 in order to use their abilities, and the gameplay centers around that. Yo, what's up? Now that we got the gist of who the Killer 7 are, I'm gonna have to try and explain how to play this fucked up game.
In case you didn't notice, this ain't your typical shooter. You move forward along rails with the A button and B to turn around, and you select where to go or interact with at intersections. You can actually hold the A button to run in place, and then push the analog stick in a direction to make things a bit easier when running around. Though sometimes if you just stop and try to select something, it can be a bit tricky if you stop at an awkward angle. Stupid sensitive piece of shit! You have almost no camera control, but it does a pretty good job of following you and showing you what you need to see, even if it's mostly at a cool looking low angle. Hey, I know you're looking up Coyote's dress, you pervs! Now, in order to attack these smiley bastards before they get up to you and explode, you have to stop and draw out your weapon with the R trigger to go into first person and shoot them. However, all Heaven's smiles are teeny-cloaked assholes, making it difficult to see them. At least they will always laugh to let you know they're in the area. In order to see them, use the L trigger to scan and reveal them. Then you fire away with the A button. You have infinite ammo, but you'll need to reload after a certain number of shots depending on the weapon, and you can flick the C stick to manually reload. Well, unless you're that invisible albino freak, he never has to reload with all his throwing knives. Moving your aim across the screen is pretty slow, so it's best to use the B button to lock onto Smiles locations and use the D-pad to switch targets if there's more than one of those fuckers. Fine-tuning your aim for precision can also be sensitive, but whenever the crosshair zooms in on something, it means you can hit it. I know the shooting's weird and different compared to other third or first-person shooters, but it's sorta like... well, playing Killer 7 for the first time. You get used to it after a while. Anyway, you can keep blasting away to stop Smiles, but they can be killed in one shot if you shoot them in their glowing critical weak spot balls. Heh, balls. And when you do kill them that way, you get blood.
Ugh, blood. I ain't talking about that messy shit. Someone else talk about it, please. Now then. You use blood for abilities and upgrades.
Outright killing normal Smiles with reckless abandon or using special attacks will not gain you any blood. Same goes with mass explosives, unless it's something he can only defeat. You can eliminate their arms, legs, and even heads to attain a small sum of blood. But to get the most blood, you need to eliminate Smiles by hitting their weak spots. You then get two types of blood, thin and thick. Thin blood is used for health recovery and the persona's special abilities and attacks, while thick blood is used for turning it into serum on the blood channel in Harmon's rooms to upgrade your characters. Though it should be mentioned that GCN cannot be upgraded. Plus, each area has a limit to how much blood you can harvest to prevent endless grinding. So it's best to get the maximum amount of blood and spend this serum wisely so you can have the Killer 7 attack more effectively and learn new combat abilities. Some abilities and attacks are unique to each Killer 7, but some like low and counterattacks can be learned by all upgradable characters. Speaking of which, in order to use low attacks, you eliminate one of the Smiles' legs and shoot them when they crawl up to you. Counterattacks, however, are more of an opportunity than a straight-up attack.
You simply wait until they get close. Then, when you see the white slash appear on the screen, you press the X button and strike!
And it's as simple as that. But it does require timing, as mashing X when Smiles get close may not do the job. Plus, not all Smiles can be counteracted, and counterattacks won't get you any blood.
Speaking of different Smiles... Oh. Hi. I guess I should mention there's lots of different Smiles in this game, huh?
Now, you usually face the standard Smiles with some slight variations like running or ceiling crawling Smiles, but can be taken down by the usual methods of shooting their weak points. But then you have others that are completely different and require a different approach to take out. Some of the different smiles are introduced in a mini-boss kind of way that you'll encounter throughout the rest of the game, and you are introduced to every smile type you run into. It's a decent variety of enemy types, even if some don't show up till late in the game, or only appear once as a mini-boss. But with all these enemies, you're going to need all the help you can get, which is why you have a whole bunch of support characters. Besides Christopher Mills, there's Irizaru. Really weird guy, but then again, so is everything else in this game. He always wears some weird S&M outfit and serves under Harmon, always referring to you as Master. He gives you advice on the area and can provide additional information about the game in the Harmon rooms. There's Samantha, who was mentioned earlier. She can save your game in some Harmon rooms if she's in her maid outfit, but the others she doesn't do a damn thing. She's such a psychopathic bitch like that, since you'll never know how she will act next. Then there's Travis, no relation to Touchdown, who is actually the Killer 7's first victim. He and Irizaru are what known as remnant psychs, ghosts of dead people that can still communicate with the Killer 7. Travis also usually provides clues and exposition, sometimes in interesting fashions. But he's not the only psych. There's also Susie, who, despite being a head, gives you rings that help you solve area puzzles that beef up your stats. There's also this strange kid that always shows up and tells you hints on how to defeat upcoming new enemies and bosses. You also have Yoon Hyun, who gives you advice on how to solve nearby area puzzles, and can offer more help if you shoot his mask and give him a little bit of thick blood. Not only that, but psychs of people that die during the course of the game show up too. The dialogue for all the NPC psychs are subtitled, but they talk in this weird jumbled voice filter that you can sorta make out words now and then, which really does seem like you're talking with ghosts. These definitely add an eerie feeling and is an interesting way to have unique dialogue and characters throughout the game.
Did I say puzzles earlier? I don't really feel like talking about that, as if there already isn't enough to talk about in this game. Alright, listen up! The levels in this game are just about as weird as the rest of the game, which you should be expecting that by now!
Every chapter in this game is 1 or 2 part, and they all involve needing to kill someone. But getting to them is another story. What you usually need to do is find soul shells, most of which you get by solving puzzles. Some require you to find a ring from that head girl and equip the fairly obvious one to solve it. Other times you need to solve some area puzzles to progress and get things like odd engravings. Most of the puzzles are pretty simple. Hell, you can even solve some with trial and error. Or you could be a pussy for the more complicated puzzles and give Yoon Hyun blood to tell you more bluntly what you need to do, and he rightfully insults you for that. There have been comparisons to old school adventure games on some of these puzzles, but to me it's more like Resident Evil in terms of finding and using things to get more things that you need to move on. Anyway, the soul shells are actually used at these gates and you'll need all of them in a level to move on. Then after going through a vacant lot that the game calls a coliseum, you'll encounter a new smell to deal with. But don't be reckless. They can kill you one hit here. Then later on you have the stage boss. Now, with the movement on rails, it may seem limited on how to deal with these bosses. Fortunately, they are all unique and play differently from one another. But some require you to do something specific or are scripted with the outcomes, which can be a bit anticlimactic. But these boss fights are still memorable for its variety as well as being really out there. Can you think of any other game that has you fighting a machine-gunning toting woman with an anime face mask and an obvious Power Rangers, or more technically, Sentai group in the same game? I think not. Going back to the levels, there are quite a few different locations that do differentiate themselves pretty well, but because of the abstract level design, it can be a bit confusing to know exactly what you need to do and how to go through the level in the most efficient way. The levels do have a few branching paths, but the order of where you should go to get on engravings or whatever isn't always clear. Thankfully, your psychs do help you in telling you what to do, albeit in a cryptic manner sometimes, and in some levels you can find padlocks for Coyote or other ways to backtrack if you missed something earlier, which the map can actually help you in finding, but it doesn't tell you where you exactly are on the map. And despite moving on rails, the gameplay takes a more methodical approach, and the areas are usually open enough to be able to attack smiles easily. Though waiting or running them around corners can be a bit troublesome, but still worked around once you know the general layout of where they usually spawn. The gameplay may seem repetitive at first, but encountering new smiles, leveling up your killers, the different puzzles, the characters you run into along the way, and all the wonderfully weird shit you see in every level keeps things engaging to play. Hell, one game doesn't even have you collect soul shells, but action figures of the city's leader, Almeida. Yeah, you heard me.
But it doesn't matter anyway. Killer 7 isn't raved about for its gameplay. It's the presentation in this game that truly stands out, my friend. Come Blonde in the house! So you've seen a lot of the games so far, and you gotta admit, these graphics are sick!
Those cel-shaded graphics, man. Such a sick art style that couldn't be anything else but Killer 7. And the best part of the visual style is it's always doing something new and fresh to keep things stimulating. All the different color schemes in the levels, the different color smiles. This game is actually surprisingly colorful for such a violent game. And that's not all. The intro and a couple of the chapters have these really gorgeous animated cutscenes that are just as colorful and surreal as the rest of the game. They may seem out of place, sure, but with so much random shit this game has anyway, is it really out of place? But don't even get me going on the music, man. This shit is so tight! The soundtrack is done by Masafumi Takada along with additional tracks by guitarist Jun Fukuda, both of whom have worked on the other Grasshopper games soundtracks as well as other games like God Hand and Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles. Hell, Masafumi was even picked among the other 35 other composers for Super Smash Bros. Brawl soundtrack. So we're dealing with some good, if a bit obscure talent here. Killer 7's soundtrack has a lot of pretty ambient and trippy stuff to draw you into the surreal atmosphere. But there's other types of music too, sometimes in places you never expect either. Like when you pass the Soul Shell Gatekeeper and enter these halls.
Oh yeah!
Unfortunately, this music only plays in this room, which is a shame really, but it's still an awesome song. The voice acting is also top notch, everyone is into their roles, no matter how strange the dialogue is during the cutscenes. The main voice actors who work in this game are very experienced in both voice and on-screen acting. Most of these guys have done so much work that it's fucking mind-blowing. You really ought to go to Killer 7's IMDb page and see what everyone else did.
But that's nothing compared to the story, man. What a mindfuck. I don't know what Suda was smoking, but damn, this is some compelling shit. Oh, it's shit, alright. I can't even begin to describe how much I don't understand this fucking game. Okay, let me see if I can sort this all out.
So in the first stage, you go up to this anime angel and kill it, then face Kunlan after you try and shoot him.
Oops. I guess my trick didn't work on you. Tricks are for kids, Kun.
Wait, was that a reference to... Ah, face it! Breakfast is ruined! So after trying to shoot him again, he just ends up taunting you and spouts off more confusing bullshit.
Harlan, the size of the world has changed. It's changed to the size where you can control it with your hands, just like a PDA. The world will keep getting smaller.
Cryptic metaphor!
So after that, you think you keep going after Kun since he's the main villain, right? Well, not really, but at the same time you still do. I think. Because afterwards, the targets are completely different. I guess since you're a bunch of assassins, you have to go and kill different people since it's your job. But that just puts the game off into really weird tangents that somehow all supposed to fit together. I think. For example, the main plot doesn't revolve around Kunlan, it seems, but US-Japan government conspiracies. Japan gets fired at with missiles by the US, but we get sent to kill Toru Fukushima, who's the middleman governor for the Japanese UN party and the US government. But when we do get to him, Harmon and the guy just talk when the secretary kills Fukushima in order to try and get the Yakumo, which is some document that will help Japan's Liberal Party regain political power or some shit like that. But then you kill her, and I guess Japan doesn't get enough political power to be able to defend themselves? Then you go into some gambling building where the negotiations for the Japan and US governments are, because politicians gamble after all, but they end up killing each other anyway. But then you get some guy named Matsuken who gets pissed off at these two old UN party guys, but then they come back to life, which you kill again later, thanks to Kan, and he touches Matsuken with his power of God Hand. No, not that God Hand! And that makes Matsuken the bad guy now. I think Kun does this in order to destroy Japan, and he does this because, he's evil? Then you go and kill Almeida, who's part of a company that's based off the Yakumo, but it's still confusing why the hell you go there. Then you go after a guy who killed Dan, who was harvesting organs from girls that makes the smiles, which, while a bit off tangent, is actually pretty interesting. But none of the other Killer 7 except Garcia really get missions that involve any of their backstory. I think more missions that explains more about the Killer 7 would be cool, and have them fleshed out more, but then again, you can only do so much with one game's story. One very confusing and disjointed story. Where was I? Oh yeah, then you go kill a comic book artist whose Power Ranger ripoff creations kill off a US politician, then you face off against them. Then you go to a school where the Japanese are apparently training assassins and to rig the American voting system. Yeah! I don't even know anymore!
What the flying fungal fart fox was Suda51 smoking when he came up with this game? It's like the game flips you off when you try to understand it. Wait, this game actually does flip you off! Well, same to you! Yeah! This game is such a mindfuck, and the ending is the biggest mindfuck of them all! It turns out Garcia... On second thought, nah, it's not worth it. Now then.
While this game is confusing, it is still very thought-provoking and unlike any other game that's out there. Gameplay-wise, it boils down to somewhat simplistic shooting and obtuse puzzle solving, but it's what you encounter along the way that makes it very memorable, and the unconventional gameplay complements the bizarre story very well. While I personally did enjoy the game, it's kind of difficult to try and recommend the game because its weird style and gameplay won't be for everyone. But for those curious enough to try, you'll be in for a gaming and story experience unlike anything you've ever seen, and I think that's what Suda51 was going with. So it's no surprise that this game is Suda's favorite project that he has worked on to date. Still, it didn't help with sales, despite marketing, even with a comic and figurines, and it's clear this game was too stylistic and out there for the general gaming public.
Style may have been the priority over substance in this game, but that doesn't stop it from being something special. Okay, I think I'm finally done. Thanks for watching. Alright, you Rorschach ripoff, I did it. I reviewed the game. So what do I get? A trophy or an achievement unlocked? Oh no. The water of time has flowed through the water wheel of fate. What are you, a Soul Calibur announcer? What the hell are you talking about? Oh, Blondie. So naive. Have you really looked into the suitcase?
My lamp only has nice things to say about me.
What? What's the meaning of this? It means this. You're me? Well, sort of. In a really confusing metaphorical sense. I'm the you that represents the you wanting to review. But what's inside that suitcase represents the you not wanting to review after getting an old video of yours mocked and viewed by thousands. I forced you to bring Killer 7 in an attempt to make you more motivated into reviewing, and have your preconceptions of you not being a bad reviewer gone, and sealed away into that suitcase. And all those other versions of me, what do they represent? Purely a fabrication of your own mind to appropriately review the game. Then what about you, me, both of us? Also within your mind. Everything you see here is... Wait, I'm imagining all of this? Oh no, Blondie. You haven't awakened from your dream yet. It's time to wake up. It was all just a cliche. I mean dream. Oh, that's the last time I eat pizza and play Killer 7 before going to bed.
They're huge. Those are a sacred gift!
Oh, god damn it, did I just have a dream within another dream? What is this, Inception? I hope I'm not still dreaming! No? Okay then. What the hell was I doing? Wait. Did that actually happen? Oh, my brain. Why? well, at least I made another review in a really abstract way. Looks like I won't be giving my brain much of a rest.